Hey there guys and gals, how we doing today? So today is my pull day training day, of course. Just a quick refresher for those of you that are new. I typically do push, pull, legs, core, rest, skill day, and then something new I've added is a light leg day. That way I can be hitting legs 2 days a week. And the light leg day more so focuses on mobility training and things I did in physical therapy, as I am a 2 times left knee surgery former patient. So got to take care of yourself, got to do the maintenance and upkeep. But anyways, today is push day. Today was a very pretty day. It was about as warm as I like it to get, to be honest. I think it started out closer to 70 degrees, and as things progressed forward, it was more around 80 degrees, and I'm of course speaking in terms of Fahrenheit. 70 Fahrenheit is minus 32, somewhere around 40. Divide by 1.8. We're talking about room temperature, somewhere around 19-20 degrees Celsius. And then 80 is, of course, 50 divided by 1.8. So probably low 20s Celsius. Please forgive my math skills there. Anyways, I'm doing something new today to try and get the total length of the video down. Something I mentioned on a previous video. I normally make these videos just on my phone. I'm not trying to put a bunch of time and money into YouTube, so to say, as I am a full-time pharmacy student, and I just do this for a hobby to hopefully help others as well as help myself. Because making videos of yourself working out actually allows you to spot yourself and critique yourself a lot better than if you're just trying to remember how you did things. Sometimes it's really great to have that third-person perspective of how you hit your set, or how you hit your skill training. But anyways, like I was saying, I normally make these videos on my phone. And my phone has a maximum of 2 times speed, but the little trick I've recently learned is I can go in on these really long, boring clips. I can go in and individually edit the clip at 2 times speed, and then when I go into movie mode to put all the clips together, I can then also make the clips there 2 times speed. So overall I can get 4 times speed on things like these stretch outs and warm-ups. If you'll notice, I'm moving a lot slower now. This is 1 time speed. This is where I'm starting my skill training. Technically starting out here with just a little bit more of a warm-up, but we're getting right into the 90-degree one-arm pull-up walk-offs. And a big thing that's holding me back today, and a big thing I took into consideration before I started my skill training, was the tendonitis in my left elbow. It's a very, very weird predicament I'm in with my left elbow. Everything works really good as long as I don't bend my left elbow very sharp. It doesn't matter if I'm doing push or pull exercises. If I get a really sharp bend, a lot of flexion in that left elbow, that's where it really starts to feel irritated. So things felt great here in this 90-degree hold. Things feel great in handstand push-ups, planche training. I think what originally... I'm showing there what I'm talking about, not bending the elbow so much, but I think what originally injured the elbow and caused the tendonitis, you can see those wings there, or at least my wannabe wings I'm trying to grow. I think what originally injured the elbow was the slow muscle-up training. I was on this very same bar one day training the slow muscle-up, And right in the middle of the transition, I didn't necessarily feel anything give, but all of a sudden I felt this sudden surge of pain in my left elbow, and I would say I strained some of the tendons and possibly ligaments in my left elbow. You know, right in the middle of that transition is where your elbows are bent the most. Anyways, more specific on this clip, I'm not sure why on the second attempt of these 90-degree lock-offs I decided to try them from more of a chin-up approach. I guess I was just trying to play around, see how things felt. But next time I'll try to remember this, and I'll try to stick with the pronated grip, the pull-up approach to the 90-degree lock-off. Because, you know, obviously I do a lot better on these, but to be fair, these are how I always train them. I don't really train the chin-up or the supinated grip very much. You know, not that that's really a bad thing, I don't really have any interest in the supinated grip, so to say, at least not right now. Went a little bit easier on these assisted one-arm pull-ups today, you know, not just grabbing the helping ring with just a few fingers. So I was getting a full false grip on that on the assisting arm, and as I'm showing here, I'm not trying to really choke up super high on the ring, which is normally something great to do in order to build a lot of you know, strength and the full range of motion. But, you know, given the issues in my left elbow, trying to take things pretty easy today. You know, it's better to be able to train to 80% of your potential than to get injured and not be able to train to 10% of your potential, you know, so that's something to keep in mind. Here we're doing some weighted pull-ups. These felt incredible, and as I said yesterday for the weighted ring dips, I felt the fire in my soul again. Felt the energy, or whatever you'd like to call it, you know, inside myself. Felt the strength is what I'm getting at. I knocked out 12 of these reps. You know, given on this first set, I didn't really pause at the top like I wished I had have. But what I was thinking about while I was doing this set was how I was trying to point the toes and keep everything rigid, which I done a really good job at right up until about those last 2 reps. And I think that was where my form kind of went down a bit. The core was more relaxed, legs were kind of flailing around. Here on the second attempt, I forget exactly how this went, but we're about to see. I think I tried to keep the legs, toes pointed, legs flexed, core tight. I'm telling you guys, and I've mentioned it a bunch, but that really helps just about anything you can do in calisthenics. Okay, so on this one I tried to get down a little bit further at the bottom and up a little bit higher at the top. And yeah, I think I still got 12 reps, but it was definitely more of a struggle than that first set. Had to really fight for these last few. And then as you'll see here in just a sec, you know, another really great bit of advice that applies to just about anything you do in calisthenics is when you're on your last set of any exercise, always try to do some negatives. You know, that's a great way to just absolutely milk that exercise for everything you can. And I'm telling you, these little things, they're not fun to do, but if you do them, they really help improve your strength over time. We'll get a lot more gains out of your sets. Out of your working sets, should I say. So here we're doing some body weight rows. This is also a very difficult exercise. I am getting a bit better at it as I'm doing my front lever training. And this is part of the front lever training, but this is a great pull day specific working set. Just even if I can't get all the way up, if I can get up any at all, it really helps. Helps build that strength that's needed to hold the front lever. Always try to do everything with as much control as you can, instead of just completely bailing at the end. And there I'm showing that semi-false grip did not feel good in that position on the elbow. Normally the semi-false grip in that position is a great tactic to make the overall skill easier. But you gotta do what you can. When you have injuries, it's no fun, and it makes you modify your whole game plan. So here I'm trying to keep the difficulty down, trying to make this this exercise very easy. And on top of that, you'll notice I'm taking this opportunity, as I've mentioned before, to just try and have the absolute best rep quality, the best form and technique that I possibly can, since I have the band helping me. And you'll see here towards the end of this set, regardless of how much the band is helping me, my muscles were absolutely cooked, and I could not even maintain that tucked lever position. But that's how you know you're doing something, is when you're fatiguing your muscles that much. I had such a pump that I could barely bend my arms. And you'll see here just how gassed I am. I can't even do a pullover like I normally do at the end of my workouts. So like I always say, you got to know when to draw the line. And seeing that I couldn't even hit a pullover, which is something that I think is pretty easy for myself, for my current level, I figured it was time to draw the line and to do the stretch out. And I think I had just a little bit of flex cam, maybe a bit of body composition show here. I've always struggled with that lower belly fat. Back when I used to do MMA and I walked around at like a 175, 185, and I was around 10 to 12% body fat, I only had a 4-pack of abs, if you know what I'm talking about, because I still had that lower belly fat. Not sure if that's where I used to be obese when I was younger, before I started training, because I grew up obese. I was obese when I first started training, which is, a big factor that motivated me to start training, because I did not want to live the rest of my life in that condition. But we all start somewhere, and don't ever be ashamed to start training. Don't ever feel like that you're too out of shape to start. Everybody starts somewhere. The Great Pyramids were not built in one night. It's my metaphor for the day. But anyways, we're coming up on the end of things here. I think it was a great workout. I think I've done a pretty good job at getting the total time of this video down. Given there were only 2 working sets and I had to do a bit less skills. But if I could keep the, regardless of the day, if I could keep the time down around 20 minutes or less, I think I'd really like that. I feel like my videos have been getting a bit long. I'm not sure how you guys feel, but let me know. And hopefully you learned something from my training day. Hopefully, something that you can take into your own workouts. But remember, safety is number 1. If you have any questions or comments, leave those below, and I'll try to help you the best I can. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.